SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to episode 82 of the SmashFactor / kind of episode 1 of the Coin Flip podcast. A little bit of special format tonight. We're going to end the 2018-19 PGA season, mixed in with a preview of the NFL season. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably know that Bucks announced his leaving of the community, or I should say leaving of the company a few weeks ago. So this is his final pod with us as an official partner, but he's going to be a brand ambassador for life, and he'll be involved and probably filling in at times when he has some free time. But to do that, we wanted to bring him on to kind of do a mix. As you well know, he took down the Wildcat last year, among other things. So great NFL mind. And with a little break in the PGA season, other partner Tambo at Toe Tag and Tambo does not have a PGA pod tonight with Kenny Kim. So he's able to make the pod as well. So we hope to have a action-packed hour and 15 minutes or so. We're going to try to keep it rolling, not drag this out. I mean, there's so much stuff can be regurgitated about NFL, and then you have something like Saturday night happen, and half the stuff you looked at doesn't really matter. It all kind of gets reset. So more going to talk about process tonight and theory and working through NFL and what we learned and what to look forward to as the season approaches. But first, I'm going to kick it over to the guys, see how their last week went for the final week of the PGA season. Bucks, how you doing tonight, and how was the Tour Championship for you?
Good, man. I'm doing really well. I'll leave again tomorrow morning to go to Detroit for a business trip. The weekend was awesome. Was at Sweetens Cove Friday, Saturday, which was phenomenal. And then the Tour Championship coming home was awesome as well. I had a single bullet that I planned on going pretty light for the week, but once I created the bullet and saw some of the other contests and a bunch of single entry contests available, I went pretty heavy, had I think $4,500 in or something like that. But it went well. I had Rory, Scott, Finau, Casey, Rose, and I don't know, somebody else super chalky. It was a super chalk lineup, but it went well. Rory obviously did what Rory does and drove the ball phenomenal, played well. But yeah, I was in for 4K and got back 14K. So it was a good week, good final week of the year.
Tambo, pleasure having you on. You're normally busy on Monday night, so it's good to get us all together and kind of a little preview of what's to come as we two-man coin flip this year. How was the Tour Championship for you, DFS, betting wise, or anything else?
That was good. It was all right. It was a good run. What happened was I decided, I talked about it on the pod with Kenny last week, and I said, I'm going to go a little lighter. I know it's the last event of the year, but it's a 30-man no cut, so on and so forth. And in the end, when it sounded like people were going to play JT by the sounds of it, it started to go that way. You know how things turn around for us. And I said, if people are actually playing this guy, I got to load up a little bit more. So like Bucks, I was in for just under 5K. I ended up getting like 4,600 of it back. And it was really, I didn't know that I got to talk to guys like Bucks to know that you got to, skip on DJ. Don't play DJ at 8,400 in a no-cut 30-man event when he's sitting middle of the pack. That's a little shock to Bucks.
Can't play.
Yeah, he's terrible. His career's over. He's basically Spieth. He's done. But
he's the next Andrew Luck. He's retiring.
He's retiring. Yeah, he's going to be done. We'll hear the news soon. But other than that, it was a fun week. I thought the tournament was great. I don't know how much we'll spend on that. But I honestly was okay with the format. I think it's like anything else. If the Giants, can get to the Super Bowl and beat the undefeated Pats, then they can win. If someone wants to make a run from 30, if Kez Reeby wants to drop hole-in-ones all day and make a run like that and continue and see what's up, then by all means, let's do it. But it would take a big run to do it. So I thought it was fair. In the end, the final pairing, Brooks and Rory, What more could you ask for? It was incredible, and excited to see as many of the people know, the Brooks hater that they all think that I am, but I really was happy to see Rory take it down. I thought that was exciting. Great way to end the season.
Yeah, I was obviously excited to see him take it down after EVR took that Euro Tour that morning. DFS was it was weird because I went with a very tight core for all the. I was in Vegas from Thursday on, so I couldn't play any showdown or anything like that. So I loaded up Wednesday and left. I didn't have too much DJ, but I did go with him. I kind of said that in the Slack Wednesday night that hey, I don't remember what he was projected at 17-18% or something. And I'm going to play at least, 1.5x over that. So, I had 22%. So nothing crazy. And I'd do it again. But I had him in my bullet lineup, which was it was a last minute switch. I had Scott and I think Kokrak, and I flipped to DJ and Glover. So it was something horrible what the switch was. I can tell you that. But
worse than dead fucking last and dead fucking then two of them.
It didn't go well. I can tell you that. But my mains it was okay. I lost like 60% of my DFS on the week. No showdown or anything.
Betting.
Yeah, betting hit. Finished the season off right. Hit a double, 116-1. Won on matchups. Actually had a chance at. So I had EVR and Fitzpatrick in my double, so that was no sweat per se once we got late Sunday. Then I had Hovland. So he was right there with another double with Rory. Rahm didn't do much, but obviously I was riding Rory pretty hard that afternoon, hoping he would close it. And then at that last 9, almost at the same time, you had Rory and Hovland coming down the back 9, and Hovland ties it or takes the lead. Then he loses him by 1 and ties it. Rory gets a 4-shot lead, and then I had landed about that time, and by the time we kind of got settled back to the house, and I ran to the gym because I just wanted to work out while I was watching the sweat. By the time I got to the gym and started working out, it was like he was only 1 shot up or possibly, about to flip another 2 shots. So it was, he pulled away at the end. Probably the last crucial mistake for DFS for me was my last player cut at my pool was Xander. So I literally, the last 3 decisions I made cost me a ton of money on DraftKings, but part of the process, it is what it is.
2 weeks to go and you can make it all back.
Yeah.
Listener League winner was Jenny Wap with 513.5, edged out Nagels Bagels. Who knows? He actually won the, I believe, the Wiley contest.
Yeah,
on there, but
512 points or something.
Yep. Jenny Wap got him by 1.5 points. So a tight race there between those two. His lineup was, I'm trying to get it to load. There it is. All right. So he had Xander, Rory, Scott, Casey, Usti, and Fleetwood. So pretty solid lineup. Overall, good week. I thought the tournament, I got to watch it, decent amount. We were watching it Saturday and then Sunday at the airport and everything while we were getting ready. I got to watch a pretty good amount of it. I like the format. I thought it played out, pretty much like I thought, in the sense that I said Wednesday night, I don't think JT's going to win, but I was very confident that he wasn't going to be in the win. I'd been shocked if he was in one of the big winning lineups just because of I put a lot of work in and running the models. The scenarios last week, simulations, and I couldn't find one. It wasn't that I think he was going to do bad. I just said at the price, I ran like 20,000 simulations and he didn't pop in one. It was going to take a miracle of like a Glover and a Reeve both finishing in the top 5 type of deal. But Rory Brooks right there. Xander made a good charge. Casey made a good charge. So I enjoyed it. What did Rory wind up making up? 9-10 strokes on JT. He was down 5 and won by at least 5, right? So, everybody that didn't think that could happen, it obviously can in the right situation. So we'll see if they tweak. I kind of said, I think on the solo pod last week, that I don't mind the format. I do think they need to adjust. I don't think winning a major automatically gets you into the top 30, but I do think the point value needs to be a little more, correlated to the money winnings for that said tournament. So if, the Masters wins 900,000 more than the Bolero, then it should be worth more than just the extra 100 points in the whole scheme of things. Yeah. I imagine they'll do that. And if a guy still doesn't make it, even though he won the, British Open, but he didn't do nothing else the rest of the year, then that's on him, right? So, but I think you should get like 1,000 or something. So
I was just going to say, I like 1,000 or 1,200. That's where they get it wrong. They do a 100-point bump for a WGC or for a major, and then it's 2,000 in the playoffs. And I love the playoff atmosphere because that's part of the skill. You can get into the top 125 and make it happen, but they got to have bigger numbers than 500, 600 for the other spots for the bigger events.
Exactly. Just to get into we got one affiliate tonight, kind of a crossover pod, and we'll roll out the NFL affiliates that we got lined up, working on a couple deals behind the scenes. It'll get announced for our first regular season pod next week. Thursday nights is going to be the coin flip with Tambo and I. Time to be determined, but we're thinking around 9:00 Eastern, which should get late first quarter of that Thursday night game. That way, if guys want to come on, watch it, kind of leading into halftime. And then by the time halftime's over, that's our goal, is to be done around halftime so we can, kind of watch the second half, and plus the pod's out there and ready for you for the weekend. All the content and information and schedules will be updated on our weekly email this Sunday as far as college football, when all that'll come out with Bobby. Bobby's doing a great job. Looking forward to it all. Our affiliate for tonight, as we mentioned a few weeks ago for the season, Pro Football Focus. If you want to get the elite or edge advantage this year for DFS season-long betting, PFF is an official affiliate of Gups Corner this year. They're bringing we're bringing you some awesome tools, which we'll get into later. We released them Sunday, free preview week this week, so hopefully everybody gets on and checks them out. But, as Fantasy National is for us golf, that's kind of how pro football is, how I look at it. It's a deep dive if you really, really want to get into it. It's a little bit higher price point, but you get 20% off if you go to our affiliates page, gupscorner.com/affiliates. It gives you the direct link. Use the code SAVE20 when you go through the link, and you get 20% off either one of them. I think they're great add-ons to your total. And you can see our tools, and if that's enough for you, then great. If you want like in-depth grading of every single player and since it's some good information, if you're just a deep dive, I don't want to say nerd, but I love analytics, so I can look at anything all day, but they're a great resource, and we will reference them in some stuff that we do throughout the pods and et cetera on the year. As you guys will see here in a little bit, we're giving away $500 worth of contest this week, entries into our NFL contest. How you got there, if you've been listening to the pod the last month, was to rate and review us on iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitch. Every time you do one of those things, you stay locked into any of these entries. So when we do another giveaway, say if we do one in a couple weeks, if you already done that and you don't win tonight, you're still in the drawing. We look at all that. We keep the whole data, so we don't just toss you out and start over. So keep doing that. iTunes is the biggest. You get a double entry there if you just rate us, give us a small review, 5 stars, and you're locked in. 2 of the winners tonight came from Facebook, so 2 out of the 4. So that's a big. Not Facebook, iTunes. I'm sorry. So 2 out of the 4 is a big. That's 50%. So that's the best way to get in. But all of them, we have a winner from, I think, 1 from Facebook, 1 from Instagram, and 2 from iTunes tonight. So those will come out a little later in the pod. Before we do a quick review of the 2018-19 PGA season, this now and through next Thursday at midnight, so opening night of the NFL, you can get 25% off any monthly or annual package with the code NFL. Our content package, which we've always offered and will continue to offer, includes all sports content. So any personal opinion pieces, any articles that Tambo, myself, or any other providers do are all included in that. Monthly is $14.99. With this code, you get it for $11.25-ish. Annual, which is 365 days. So that gets you football, golf, college football. We're covering it, as good as anybody this year for the college football DFS side. All the bets, all the picks, all the plays, all that's included for an entire 365 days. So you don't have to start over at the next sport. It's $119.99. With the promo, you get it for $89.99. If you want to try us out for a week, we don't really push that because we feel we want you to buy in and be a part of the community. But this week wouldn't be a bad one because you can also try out our tools because they're free through the preseason week 4 slate Thursday night. So for $4.99, you can go try us out, check out the football tools, see what we're kind of bringing to the game this year. See if you want to lock in something before this promo ends out. So this wouldn't be a bad week to get that done. All prices will increase next Friday after the promo ends. So now is the time to lock in your price. When you sign up, that is your price as long as you're a member. You don't, if we increase again, you don't get increase. If you got in at $6.99 during the Masters push, you stay at $6.99. All those guys are still $6.99. If you lock in now to $11.25 a month, you get that forever as long as you stay a member. So it's a great time to get in. If you're not familiar, we've announced it a few times, had a lot of conversations. The premium tools packages did debut. NFL was released yesterday. College football should be out tomorrow. We got season-long cheat sheets, our current season stats, which will be customizable, matchup target report, customizable weekly cheat sheet, red zone report, live weekly projections, which are customizable by the users, and much more coming soon. So a lot of products coming. Been a great feedback in the Slack. Get in now, check it out. It's free through Thursday. And, try any tool you want. Give us some feedback, what you like, don't like. We still have a projection tool that's pretty cool that, Rick's partnered with us on these tools, and this thing is going to be awesome when it debuts. It's not out yet. We should try to have it out by next week, but it's a little more in depth. So we want to get the basis package out. I did get asked if we add more tools, does it cost more? No, it doesn't. Whatever we add for football, whether it be NFL or college, is all included forever. Like, we're not going to keep adding on. This is just a premium tools package for football. We'll have one for golf. As we grow and develop them, that's just extra stuff for you guys. Obviously, as I said, prices are going to go up next Friday. College football is a unique kind of niche-ish sport this year, but I think they're going to have a big push. I think we got one of the best in the industry with Bobby. He's already done some great work in the Slack and helping people get prepped. His information for this week's slates will start coming out here in the next day or two. I can't wait for everybody to read it. He did a great job last year. Looking forward to it. After all that, let's do a quick 2018-2019 review. We'll when we come back to the Smash Factor, not the fall swing, but fall swing, we're going to focus more on kind of processes and then these younger guys and stuff like that. But like our big one we do, December, January, we'll do a deep dive in kind of the recap / projections for the next season. But I want to ask both you guys 4 or 5 questions. Doesn't have to be in depth. And I'll give a small comment after you guys go. But Bucks, what was your favorite moment of the year? Moment or two, I think one we may all be very close on, but of the entire season for you.
I'm glad I'm going first because it's 1,000% going to be Tiger Woods, the Masters. Yes. It's that whole week was awesome, man. I mean, leading up to it, getting all that content out, being the first major of the year, having Joe Pita on the pod. We talked significantly about Tiger and his chances of winning on the pod. We were all pretty heavy on Tiger that week, and it worked out, man. And it was phenomenal. Like, I have chills talking about it because I didn't know if I'd ever get to see something like that again, kind of in my lifetime. And so it was awesome. And then outside of that, I think for me, one of the cooler things was seeing how all of the rookies, how well they played. I mean, we've had some rookies in years past come out and play well, but we had a handful of them this year kind of have breakthrough years, and we are about to see we've had a really good run of great golf, but I think the fields we're going to see moving forward are just going to be astronomically more difficult for like the elite guys to win. And so I'm pumped. I thought it was an awesome year, but yeah, Tiger and those rookies. What about you, Tambo?
Yeah, any golf fan who doesn't say the Tiger Woods at the Masters is crazy to me. That was beyond excitement. You can't ask for more. First major of the year, we're already, as some of the bigger golf fans and fantasy golf fans and people that are involved in it, putting lots of money behind it and just so invested emotionally and physically and money and everything that's all, and financially and all that's put into it. That was the most exciting. As a backup, since I knew you'd probably steal that, and I knew we'd all have that one. I will selfishly say that one was a little disappointing because I was the one who wasn't heavy on Tiger, and he actually cost me possibly $1 million in the Millie Maker. If you remember when Brooks, Foley, and Finau all go in the water on 12, and I had all 3 of them in my lineup. So that sucked. But I will say my backup moment, Gary Woodland at the U.S. Open. Again, selfishly, had a big win, but I really did like that tournament. I thought it was exciting. I thought, he literally needed every shot in the bag to hold off Brooks Koepka, who we already expected to be the guy to come back and get him. And he held him off. And to then make the long birdie on 18 and everything he went through, if you follow his story in the past, and, you guys I know had talked about him. Kenny and I had talked about him at the start of the year and just said, look, load up on this guy at majors. This is going to be his year. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a big moment. So for me, it was exciting because it was also my biggest outright ever. But from a golf fan perspective and just a people person, great guy to see him get it done. I really did like Gary Woodland at the U.S. Open as well.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Mute.
Obviously, Tiger was number one. And I had a personal kind of favorite-ish, and then golf-wise, which they kind of went together. Sunday at the 3M Open to me was one of the better rounds of excitement golf, and obviously I had DeChambeau and Matthew Wolff outrights, so that made it even more. You had Morikawa there, it was Morikawa, yeah, and so all three of those guys are right there. Hit the Wolff outright at 125-1. But the golf between those three guys coming down the stretch that Sunday was kind of going off what Buck said, was pretty awesome. It was, for me, it was other than Tiger, it was the best Sunday for personally watching. Personally wise, another big year betting golf wise. Had 16 outrights or first round leaders. 4 of them were over 100-1. Had the DJ Fowler double at the Waste Management and Saudi. Had the Wolff one I just talked about. Had Rory EBR this week. Great year all the way around that way. I know we all had, and actually was a down DFS year. Obviously after last year, I don't think I would have expected an up one, but enjoyed the process and the community and just overall the experience that this season brought compared to anything we had before was amazing. So looking forward to the fall swing as we get a little deeper into the process and kind of help some people with things we may or may not have time to deep dive into as we're in the middle of the grind. But Bucks, what was your biggest surprise of the year to you, whether it be a player, an event, or reaction, or anything?
I'd have to say, going back to the rookies, I think that was my biggest surprise. Like I said, I think we see a handful of rookies here and there come out and play really well, kind of out of the gate for a few events. But it's really, really rare to see what we saw this year with Wolff, Morikawa, Hovland, with Wolff and Morikawa winning. And honestly, with expectations already on their shoulders.
Right.
And now Hovland secures his card. I think we're just going to see a stacked tour next year with guys that legitimately can win. And so for me, that would be my biggest surprise. From an event perspective, I was shocked. And I guess this would go into kind of disappointment, but I was shocked that Rory missed the cut at the British Open. That was to me the number one
right
surprise finish, I guess not finish of the year. I would have laid all the money I have that 1, he makes the cut, and 2, he top 15s, top 10s.
Yep. Tambo, what about for you?
All jokes aside, but from earlier and even from the DJ falling down the stairs, but DJ falling down the rankings and falling off the map. I think honestly, I know we joked about it. That's a joke, I know, when that's just a little bit of back and forth between you and I. But honestly, though, to see the guy, if for those that don't remember, at the Masters, he was literally a 15-foot birdie away from what would have been a playoff with Tiger Woods. Quietly, no one even saw him coming. So he's second at the Masters. The PGA, Brooks had that 5 bogeys or 3 bogey stretch, whatever it was. No one thought anyone was coming back. DJ all of a sudden was getting the chants and the cheers in the mix, and you thought something could happen there. And then just to see him completely disappear, followed by this tour championship, to me was crazy to see. It'll be interesting to see how it turns back around at the start of the season. Is there a story to it? All the I'm done with Claude Harmon, I'm back with Claude Harmon. What's going on exactly? If we ever find out back to the original statement of falling down the stairs, we still don't know, but maybe we'll never know. But that to me was one. And as far as an event, one that I'm excited to, I'm 99.9 we're getting this done this year, is the Honda Classic, the Keith Mitchell dagger in the mouth of Brooks and Ricky on looking to see, can this kid get it done from 18 feet, or else we're going to own him in a playoff. And he shoves it right down their throat. I mean, that to me was epic. And I'm a big Keith Mitchell guy, Killer Keith. I thought it was awesome. I was pissed that I didn't have the outright when I've been on it so many. It'd be like if Panda won and I didn't have it, because I'm so far down that rabbit hole now. It's too late to go back. But it was just one that I missed, and it was a big number on him that week. But from an event perspective, to surprise me, him to make that putt, that was huge, and that was good for him and good for his career. It's good for the game of golf.
Yeah, I didn't know if anybody else would say the college guys storming the field, which was obviously the first one that came to my mind. And I mean, not that because of the call I had with Redmond, but I think Redmond's not too far behind those guys. I mean, these guys are a little bit different level, but he's got a little killer attitude to show up here and there and compete. So, and there's several others. I mean, these three are kind of the top of the class, but I think there's a pretty deep field that's coming into the tour this year. I think the fall swing is going to be great. I think it's going to be great for many reasons, because I think I'll get on my DJ soapbox here in a minute, but I think DJ could have fallen to the schedule layout, because he's pretty particular about how he likes to rest and like chill. And here at the end, you kind of had to, I mean, you had to get your tournaments in. And I think some guys was a learning experience of how they want to set their schedule up. And I've already heard not a lot, but several of the elite guys that may play a little bit more in the fall swing to get their kind of bank their FedEx points, so they don't have to cram in so much March to July. And it's going to be even worse next year because you got the Olympics. So I've heard that. It'll be interesting to see if some of these, it won't be a full stack field, but it won't shock me if you have a little bit better fall swing fields than you normally have, especially like event 3 and 4 in. They're all going to take a little bit of a break now, but why wouldn't I go play a fall swing event in a lesser field, bank me some FedEx points so I don't have to grind as much, in May or June in between majors. So I think we'll see some changes next year among certain players, and it'll be something to keep an eye on for the 2019-2020 season. Biggest letdown of the year, I'll start. I think Spieth will probably be an auto, but I don't know if it was a letdown or not, because I don't know how much expectations he had in going to the year. Probably just kind of doing my deep dive review last night. And a guy that stuck out to me, and not only because of his just absolute not very good year at all, but also some of the incidents on the courses he had, and it was Sergio for me. So kind of player performance, disappointing year all around. I don't know if this is like his, I know he had the baby, he's won the Masters. I don't know if he's just kind of done and just going to kind of grind out as he can, or if this was just a setback year. We know he's, can be an elite ball striker and obviously can win majors, or, at least one, and has had pretty steady years, but he just didn't really do much this year. And then we all obviously saw, several episodes of beating the sand with his club and beating the tee box. And so something there this year. I don't know if it'll come back. And then obviously, Speed's kind of an auto 1B type for me. Bucks, what biggest letdown of the year for you?
Yeah, for me, and this is primarily because of how I had him ranked like before the season after such a ridiculous 2018 was Finau. I really thought this would be his breakout year. Last year he had a phenomenal year from a consistency standpoint, like a perennial top 10 guy, always seemingly knocking on the door. And I thought this would be the year that he broke through. And so I had really high hopes for him. And it just didn't happen. And so Finau for me would be my biggest disappointment. That's more personal. And then from a second half of the year, there's a few guys that really just shocking falls, like quick falls. The first would be Phil Mickelson. I mean, he played phenomenal at the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden just lost it, all of it, and played terrible down the stretch. Lost his driver, lost his confidence. And then obviously you have other guys like DJ who is in a temporary slump. But when you talk about a guy who for the last 4 years hasn't gone more than 5 events without a top 10, has gone, I don't know, 9-10 events now or something like that. He's just not, there's something going on there that we don't know about, because he's not the guy that would go through like a swing change and let that just mentally stick with him. Like there's something going on there that nobody knows about. But those would be my biggest disappointments.
Tambo?
I got one before that, though. I think I think you nailed the schedule call. Just a couple things you guys said that were brought up. The Phil Mickelson one, great call. One early in the season, didn't seem to be anything wrong with him. He's a bit older. Times, father time gets everybody, but I mean, you don't see it that bad, but that would be one. Kuchar, and then on the Kuchar note, to Gup's point, I think you'll see guys go the Kuchar effect. What did he do? Win 2 events in Mexico, and he coasted the whole season. It didn't matter that he was atrocious down the stretch. He was in. He almost locked Eastlake up because of that. Like, it's enough points just to keep you going as long as you make a few more top 10s here and there throughout the year. And if it's class golfers, like you say, can play in these lesser fields, it'll be very interesting to keep an eye on going into this year. For me, I would say my boy, it's a homer call. I put some notes down, but Ricky Fowler. So it's not just because I love Ricky. It absolutely is not personal. I'll tell you, here's the thing. The bounce back win at the Waste Management Phoenix Open was obviously incredible. I was there in Phoenix. It was exciting for me. That's amazing. But for him to go through that adversity and then to still get the job done, I really thought this was the year, because look what he had to go through. He had to face some demons there, get back out of them, had guys chasing him, and then turn it around and get the win. But then he did nothing. So I know he had like a 9th and a 6th in a couple of the majors, but in the previous 2 years, he's got 3 top 5s, none this year. The previous 5 years to this year in the WGCs, he's got 8 top 10s, none this year, barely showed up at the WGCs. No other results after that. I know it's some say, well, Justin Thomas just got his first win, but I mean, he had injuries and stuff going on. And yes, it was still an interesting thing for him not to get anything. For Ricky to win the Waste Management Phoenix Open, it feels like something that should have happened years ago anyway. So it wasn't like it's super special. A win, I'm not discounting a win for my boy, but I'm just saying it wasn't like he had a great year. And, just too many good guys on the scene. It really does worry me, to your point of Sergio earlier, is are we going to see sort of a Sergio type year or type career where it's, he's going to have to just get lucky and get one out of the weeds, because the fields are getting stronger and stronger. We talked about the rookies. We talked about all the other guys, the Rahms, the Xanders, the Cantlays, the Brysons, all these dudes that are looking like they're going to take one too. Then how does Ricky fit into that? I mean, I know he's a happy guy. He's got a lot of money, great life, sponsorships, etc. But he wants to win. He doesn't want to be the one just giving the high fives at the end. So very disappointing for me as a fan of him, for all the fans of him, and for just the year overall. It was not exciting.
The only thing with DJ, and I think it's more of a recency bias, is, I went to him immediately to kind of research when I looked at the disappointment. But I mean, he finished first at WGC, second at the PGA, second at the Masters, 7 top 10s, 5.5 money this year. I mean, as a season, he's not even close to a biggest disappointment. The last, quarter of the season, yeah, maybe.
Oh,
but
for sure, yeah.
I mean,
and that's why I put him as the surprise versus the letdown. I'm with you. It wasn't a letdown. He had a great year versus anybody would take that. But what a surprise to see from all that to nothing and what's going on. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that'll be what, if he shows back up and is, contending right out of the gate in the February, Marches, and I don't think it'll matter. I just think right now it looks like he was, god awful, which I'm very well aware of, and so is my bank account. But I'm not, and if something's going to come out major, we'll know about it before January, February. So I'll just kind of wait to see what happens there. 2 more quick questions, then we're rolling to some football. Bucks, thoughts on PGA DFS, as it evolves next season with the partnership to DraftKings, live final, does FanDuel or Yacht, do these guys stick around? Do they stay? We've not really seen a exclusive type partnership like this from a fantasy provider, contest provider, and a major tour, or like NFL's not. I mean, what are your thoughts there in overall? Obviously, it's going to be healthy for the game. It's going to help it, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think much like anything, DraftKings is opening the door for the rest of them too. And so it's just a matter of time before FanDuel has some sort of partnership with them as well. I mean, to be honest, though, it doesn't matter for FanDuel because they're already so far behind the 8 ball in terms of users, contest sizes, all of that, that I don't think it's going to matter for them. So it's going to be DK. Like, there's no other option for us fantasy players. I mean, you can go play FanDuel and it's fun, and I personally think it's easier to win over there. But it's hard to go over there knowing that the contest sizes and the payouts are a tenth of what you're seeing. Well, not a tenth, but a lot smaller than what you're seeing on DK. And so I am excited about the partnership, not only for the growth of fantasy golf and daily fantasy golf, because you're going to see larger contests, you're going to see larger payouts. I think, though, from like us in a viewing perspective, just for the average golfer, it's going to throw a lot of business DK's way as well, because I'm hoping that during the broadcasts and even in some of the write-ups that we're already started seeing, that when you think of PGA Tour, it's going to be synonymous with fantasy golf and DraftKings and scoring. And I'm excited for somebody to see on the leaderboard Rory 15 under, JT 15 under, Dustin Johnson 15 under, Adam Scott 15 under, and Tony Finau 14 under, but Tony Finau's beating them all in fantasy scoring. And I'm excited for somebody to dig in and say why. I'm excited for the announcers to say why, that kind of thing. I think that alone is going to draw people in, and not just the daily fantasy golfer. And then from that, I mean, I'm just excited for the future. I mean, with the influx of money coming in and the backing, having individual players that you can follow, like any individual player, having I could foresee a world where, because you have your 6 guys in your lineup, that the PGA Tour allows you to basically follow your 6 guys, and you have like a screen with picture-in-picture that have 6 different screens on it, and you can follow every single shot. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I think that's on the horizon with that. And I think it's an exciting time to kind of be in it and already be in it, because in my opinion, the waters in DFS over the last year and a half have gotten very diluted, and the edge is quickly going away. And I think it's only going to continue to do that. And that's where I think having actual knowledge of golf and not just like statistics is going to come into play, and having knowledge of the way things have worked over the last few years. Because we've seen it, and anybody listening to this has seen a ton of players come into the space, including us, over the last couple of years. But you're going to start seeing a ton, just like we do in NFL. NFL, there are thousands upon thousands of providers, and we will start seeing the providers pop up and pop up and pop up and pop up for PGA as well. And I think it's going to be important for the companies like the Gups Corners and the others to embrace kind of the partnership and help guide that. I know DraftKings and Pat Mayo, they're going to be ambassadors for the entire industry, but it's going to be really exciting to see what's happening.
Tambo?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, you mentioned technology a little bit. That's huge. A lot of the things I'm excited for, and that I think of how it evolves, is selfish, but not just for me, but for Gups Corner and for our members. Because honestly, it's like Buck said. There will be an influx now of outsiders coming in. The waters will get a little fishier, quote unquote. We'll be excited about that. We will have an advantage. We will have an edge. We currently already do. You see enough people in Slack that are turning $300 into $5,000 or $180 into $1,800, whatever it might be. Imagine if the playing field gets a little bit less quality. Not saying that those people that come in from the outside can't get good and win. They'll probably join Gups Corner. But I mean, in the end, I'm always all for competition getting weakened out of the gate and giving us a shot. But the elephant in the room, and the obvious you mentioned at the top of your statement there, Gup, is the live final, right? If they don't have a live final this year, something's extremely wrong. I know, we pretty much all boycotted it, so to speak, for most of the year, at least 85% of it, because there was just no point in paying rake to get no experience, no event, no value on a stupid payout structure that was forced to be at the Northern Trust where nobody gets to be together and it's all pushed into one place. If it was at a live final, obviously that's something I'm going to go extremely hard for. We'll talk about it when we get into football. The live finals are incredibly exciting. It's part of, just like Gup's Corner, community-based. You're around a bunch of people live that you see, follow, talk to on Twitter maybe, and never in real life. But, the live final is the most exciting. I don't think we'll see any brands go away. I know, I'm bad for saying something, like FanDuel's trash, but one, I don't really have any allegiance to either of the brands. It's not to put them down. It's just my opinion. So it is what it is. But what I will say is I think they're going to use this as an opportunity to just hope that more people come across to their site. I don't think they'll get involved in the partnership because it sounds like it's sort of exclusive with DraftKings, but I think they'll look for ins and they'll definitely look to pick up the pieces and the scraps. What they really need to do is to stop just sending out surveys and actually put some action to them and find someone who plays full-time or say, hey, Bucks, you love playing on FanDuel. I know you play on it a lot more than Gup and I do. Why don't you come on board for a day on a call with on a Zoom call with the team and tell us what's great and what sucks and then fix their product to make it better so it can be a little bit of a contender again. Because I don't know about you guys, I just mentioned I know you play at Bucks, but I took if I'm playing $5,000 on DraftKings, I'm playing $50 on FanDuel or zero. Like I'm throwing a lineup in just to see what it feels like this week, to see what the money's like, or I felt like it but I'm not playing it for no reason. There's no way I'm going over there over DraftKings, regardless of anything. So
to your point, every single company, whether it's FanDuel, DraftKings, anybody, should be doing that anyways.
Definitely.
Like there are so many guys throwing tens upon hundreds of thousands of dollars into these contests, and they need to have some sort of player advisory panel. I know they've started stuff like that, but I can tell you just from our experience in talking with some of the higher ups at DraftKings that they had no interest in listening to what we had to say when we've had a chance to talk to them. And I think there are improvements they can make. They just need to listen.
Right. I think this will change that too for a last thing for me, and then Gup, go ahead. But that's just the last piece of this where things like this will make us matter more as a community to have more say in it because now it's going to be affected. What we do is what they do sort of thing. So excited for that as well. And last point, just not to drag it out, but I don't think we'll see all of these things as soon as possible. I think we will see a live event this year. I don't think we'll see, the DraftKings score up on the board on the, PGA event that's coming up at the Greenbrier where there's going to be DraftKings points posted. I think we're a little bit ways from that still.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think I don't know if they'll go away or not. I doubt it, but I think they'll have to realize, do they just keep providing it for the people that want to play it? Talking about a FanDuel or Yahoo's trying to get into it. The biggest uphill battle, as kind of Bucks alluded to, was, the prize pools, especially attracted. And so, I mean, NFL is kind of a beast in its own. And, FanDuel does great in NFL. I think if they grow some of these other niche sports, it kind of gets people are creatures of habits a lot of time. And because I do 100%, for the most part, exclusive golf on DK, I most of the time just play football on DK because I don't feel like splitting it all up. And I know that maybe, I may be rare there or something like that, but it's just creature of habit of logging in. I know the system. I know the scoring. All of them had to have their niche scoring. And so to try to digest all that, especially when you're running a company, providing the information, trying to do your own research and all that, to get the scoring down, if it's a little bit different, it's just one more thing for me to process. And I can imagine just your general user out there, most of them probably don't even realize that it's different scoring. They just play in it because they maybe get a free ticket or whatever. But the ecosystems of DFS, for DFS to survive and not have, some of the, call it like poker kind of went down. And I mean, you can't be too top heavy, or your ecosystem won't survive long term. And I think they realize that, and some of these partnerships will help grow it. And some of the things I have to ask you guys about football, and as big as it's got, and leverage in those big contests compared to golf, we have 1 million maker, or what? I mean, a million maker for the majors, and NFL has a million maker every week. Now it's 270,000 people, and so can they grow golf that big? And is that good? Is it bad? Is it good to have people throwing in $20, golf lineups when mathematically it's, not, I can't sit here and be on Gup's Corner and tell people that's smart, because I won't do that. It's not, it's a waste of money. So at the same time, you got to have enough contests in there that allows the people that, as they continually get, you guys kind of said it, as the consumers get educated and become hopefully smarter with companies like ours and guys that are friends of ours in the industry, whoever, Wiley, Mayo, Feinberg, that teach bankroll management, contest selection, you may not have as educated users, but maybe if nothing else, they go, oh, the $60 I was throwing in the Millie Maker on Sunday was virtually a waste of money. And I'm going to go play the $3 20 max. And so if they keep evolving some of that stuff so that, they limit some of the payouts and how the things go. And then, we talk about flatter structures and as long as they keep growing that and the system keeps growing, you hope DFS survives for a long time. I think it will, obviously. Especially as legalization continues to sweep the country. And I think you'll see some intertwining with betting and all that with multiple companies. So I think it's all positive. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of approach. I don't think they'll do much fall swing wise, but definitely as they digest it and hit the turn of the 2020 year, it'd be interesting to see what they do. Not only them, but I want to see how Yahoo and FanDuel takes the off season, their golf department. I assume they have people dedicated just golf and go, all right, how do we compete and how do we improve our product? Because we did this and they probably have less than 8% of the market share compared to DK. So it'll be fun to see how they do that. Probably the last thing, just real quick, and then we'll go straight NFL. Who's the player you're looking forward to watch most during the fall swing here that starts off in a couple weeks all the way through, October-ish, late October?
For me, current player would be Sungjae, just to see him to continue to grow. I think he's, especially once you hear all the players talk about how special that this kid is, I think I am excited to see how good he can get. From like a new guy that's going to come out of the Korn Ferry Tour is going to be Scotty Scheffler, and that's Adon's boy, Texas kid. But I mean, I think on the Korn Ferry Tour in 19 events, he had like 9 or 10 top 10s, couple wins, was top 15 in driving distance, greens and reg, and putting. I mean, the dude is just all game. And so another rookie next year that has real talent to win on tour week in and week out. So exciting times for us.
Tambo?
Yeah, Scheffler's odds-on favorite this week for the Korn Ferry Tour Finals with Hovland taking. Now that Hovland locked up his card, he's going to be taking a week off. So Hovland's actually my guy. I love Hovland. I talked about on the pod with Kenny Kim. I said, if you don't like Victor Hovland, I don't like you. This guy is he's awesome. He's me and OG, great guy, contributor at Gup's Corner, amazing dude. We were joking last night that he's literally Ricky Jr. So, it's natural for me to switch to him because it's just amazing. Everything about him is solid. The guy interviews well. I do like Morikawa quite a bit as well. I'm just much higher on Hovland and Morikawa than I am on some. Wolf's swing is exciting. I think he's a great kid. His win was extremely impressive. You can't hate any of them, but of the up-and-comers, I got to go Hovland 1 and Morikawa 1A for me.
Yeah, I had Sungjae kind of penciled. I knew Bucks was high on him as well. I think seeing him a few times this year, he's intriguing to me. And I think I saw a stat Sunday when I was at the airport scrolling across the bottom that he either set the record or top 3 birdies of all time in the season, like 400.
Third ever, I think it was. It's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, huge upside with him. I don't know if he's going to continue the pace that he had playing that many rounds. Obviously, the kids we already talked about were great. One guy I have my eyes on that's similar background, went to Oklahoma State. I think it's Christopher Ventura is, he's from Mexico, but played at Oklahoma State with those guys. He's a guy I'm actually going to take a look at this weekend on the board. I'm not going to do much, but there's a couple of guys that I think can win this thing at pretty good odds. And then, kind of a homer deal is in talking with him, even continuously post the season. I think the fall swing could be big for our guy HV3. Solid results last year at the Greenbrier. I could see him showing up there and contending, and I I kind of think he may get his first win during this fall season and get off to a good start and hopefully have a good year. I know he's, pretty focused. He feels he's close to making that next step, that kind of top 30 level elite step. So I'm interested to watch him throughout the fall swing. He's that guy that's on the brink that if he can get things rolling, especially in these kind of fields, get some momentum, he could have a real good start to his season. So obviously looking forward to seeing him. So that's kind of the wrap up of the Smash Factor 2018-19 PGA. We will be covering the fall swing. I'll have more information on that later in this week. We will, I will say, and I've said it in the Slack many times, Tambo is not coming on the pod with you. And that's not a negative thing. It's a good thing. I'm not disrupting that great pod that him and Kenny Kim have. I've had a lot of people, I've seen them posted in their concern that is not a case. I've told Kenny and him both privately that that's not my objective to break that up. If they made that decision for whatever reason, that was between them, but it won't be because of me. And as far as I know from both of them, they're continuing on for, I think
we'll be back year 5.
Yeah. Year 5 for that pod. And obviously Tambo's second year with them. Yeah. Not that Tambo won't fill in or help out from now, but Tambo will be on there full time with Kenny again. That's not my MO. I'll have some announcements on how that's going to shake out for the Smash Factor as we roll through the fall swing and then head into our big 2019-2020 preview. December-ish is when we normally launch that. And then, as I already mentioned earlier, the coin flip will be Tambo and I most of the weeks. Obviously, if we need to fill in or something, we'll reach out to a few different guys. But it'll be Thursday nights. We'll get the times to you on the weekly email. So make sure you got that coming your way. I'm not going to go like real deep dive and just go into all kinds of crazy football stuff. There's so much out there, and we have our own content coming out this week. And we've already mentioned a lot of it in the Slack and just kind of going back and forth, especially with the tools coming out and a big Thursday slate, preseason stuff. But did want to talk a little bit of strategy and overall perspective, especially with, Bucks on here. The first question for you guys, was there any, and this is real quick, these first 2 or 3 are real quick answers and, try to get through this whole deal in, 20 minutes or so and wrap it up. But, as we continue, it's kind of, and I wrote this earlier, you guys know I sent you the notes, but it kind of spins off what we just talked about with golf. As DFS continues to evolve and we continue to evolve and the research, the materials in the industry, was there anything from last year, whether it was the football season or even coming through the golf season, that you learned that, gave you a different perspective or something leverage wise that you may tweak going into this football season DFS compared to prior years? Bucks, you can go first.
I think for me, and it was already apparent, but even more so for football, I think contest selection, understanding who you are as a DFS player and then translating that to contest selection, in my opinion, is vital for NFL. Like PGA is one thing, but the field sizes for NFL contests are so massive that for, let's just say for me and Gup and a lot of people I know that are 3 to 5 entry guys, throwing 3 to 5 darts in the millie every week is virtually impossible to hit. I mean, you're going to have, you'll have a couple, you might, if you have a great year, you'll have a couple that you can sweat on, but throwing 3 to 5 in a millie is like a lottery ticket, really. And so if you're really trying to build bankroll and are bankroll conscious, which everybody should be, I think understanding the contest selection and not getting wrapped up in to the name Millie Maker is super important. Like we started covering in the Smash Factor, if you only had $100 a week, what would you do with it? I think that question is extremely important because it's, in my opinion, a terrible bet to throw 3 lineups in the $20 Millie Maker when you can throw 3 in a 3 max $20 or something. And so for me, there are a lot of things that you could talk about with NFL that differ. But for me, I think just from the get-go, since this is kind of like just a preview, understand who you are as a player. If you're only going to play 1, 3, 5 lineups, really deep dive into contest selection and be smart about it. You don't need to go after the million every week. If you have expendable income to do it, go after it. But if you only have $100 to play, I would highly recommend thinking about contest selection and not necessarily doing the million.
And I'll add to that in a second. But Tambo, for you?
Two quick things. The first one is similar to Bucks, but different. And this is where the discussion gets had. Not really just, obviously, it's still a good point he's making. I agree. I just mean know what your goals are. To me, that's more important. I posted my goals last year. I talk about it often. You know, my buddy puts $20 in the Million Maker every week, but he's also the guy that goes to the casino with $100 and expects to lose it and says, I'm just going to gamble this off. And if I lose it, I lose it. Yeah. But I'm going to try and flip it to 1,000 and get out. He's putting the $20 to try and win the Millie. He knows it's damn near impossible. He knows he has no, expectations when he goes in, but that's what he wants to do. If I want to quit my real life job to do DFS content and play DFS full time, I'm going to play the contests that are going to allow that to happen.
Exactly.
And to Buck's point, though, I'm only going to do it. I'm not going to throw maybe one in the 21-20 because, that's where you guys do your 1 to 3 max and you're more comfortable with it. That's not my game. Picking one lineup out of all them when I'm doing 100 or 150 somewhere else. And we'll get into that with some of the other stuff on the docket for tonight. But that's the one thing. So know what your goals are. And then we'll talk about more when Gup and I are on Coin Flip together going into this season. The second one real quick is to review. I know Gup, high proponent, high respect for you for what you do with your golf reviews every week and go back and follow up and check it out and see that stuff. I do it on a way lesser extent, but with football, back to knowing your goals. If I want to win the Millie Maker, and as crazy as that sounds, it is what it is. I've had some chances. I got a 3rd. I got an 11th last year in it. I've got some opportunities. In golf, I've had a few tries at it. Now, this season alone, I'm studying Millie Maker lineups. That's because that's my goal. So when you're doing your reviews, don't just review your lineups. Review yours against your competition in the tournaments you want to win. And that's really what it comes down to. Review the best players in the world because, while, yes, they're not winning every week or maybe they're not profiting on the long term, they have what it takes to win in that tournament once or multiple times, and you see them in other tournaments winning. So study what they do and then study what you do and try and piece the puzzle together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, kind of wrapping all that up, you guys hit most of the, points I had. And this is where I think we excel in the industry, and hopefully the people that are listening here are most of them are already subs. If not, they kind of get a clear understanding and will be my focus point over the next 9 days. Some of the articles and stuff I'm going to write is geared towards. So I did a process article for golf that when it came out was very hot. A lot of people loved it. There's things I even learned during the season that I'm going to revise it and adjust, for the 2020 season. But for football, I made an extensive amount. Last year was really my first big DFS football year to go into it, deep into it. And so I back to this is kind of to your point, Tambo. I went into it saying, here's my bankroll, and I'm fully willing to lose it, but I'm going to try a bunch of different strategies and different things. So I have educational notes for myself for the next season. So I'm, no different than I did for golf in 2017, which paid more than enough dividends in 2018. I'm hoping that's what happens this year. As of right now, I'm actually flipping my strategy from what I normally do for golf and kind of what I did from football. Football last year is I'll probably look a little more MME because in my review, not only weekly, but at the end of the season, when I did my deep analysis of, like you said, Tambo, I'd run the contest I thought about getting in or looked in and kind of the pools I would have done and how, I felt that my research and everything led me to be very competitive throwing 75 lineups in the $9 or 50 lineups in the $9 as opposed to 3 lineups in, the 150 max or, 3 in the 333 or whatever, your same dollar amounts, but where I have a unique advantage, I feel in the single entry 3 max stuff in golf, just for me personally, but I went through the research and the time, and this is what we try to preach to everybody else. You be you and understand your leverage is that I feel with my overall knowledge in football, which is way more than golf, flip-flop from kind of Bucks. Bucks grew up on golf his whole life. I didn't. I feel I can get my pool good enough and go throw a MME style, and the stuff that I back tested for last year led me to this kind of conclusion. I'm kind of rolling with it this season. We'll see how it does. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to do different things, but all around that contest selection, bankroll management, and you're right. If you and your expectations is huge. So if you're that guy who goes, I don't care if I lose it, then that's a different mentality than I'm in this to be bankroll and get here through the end of the season and try to get 4X this year on my entire ROI or whatever it is. As long as you know it, then take your best shots, and hopefully we can help people understand what their best shots are with the bankroll they have. So kind of with that is do you – quick response on this one is, do you change your bankroll for NFL compared to golf?
I don't know.
Tambo?
Weekly, yes. I said annual is close. Assuming you're playing every week of both and showdown on both, a little bit here and there, the Sunday night showdown of football, you're playing round 3, round 4 on golf or weekend. Keep in mind, PGA's 45 plus weeks, NFL's 17 if you skip the playoffs. But there's a milli maker every week for starters in NFL. So even, if I'm chucking 50 to 100 in I'm not doing that every week in golf, but it's the 44 versus the 20. So it does balance out. But the big thing with football, one note I'll make, and I'll give it over to you, is the live finals. There's a lot more live finals. FanDuel has one. DraftKings has 2 when you include the King of the Beach, which I've been fortunate enough to go 3 for 3 on and actually get live the last 2 years. So, FanDuel is relevant in NFL compared to what we just talked about in PGA. So there could be money over there that you're putting on. So it's probably the same annually, but weekly it's a lot more because of that. And it's 17 weeks. You got to go for it.
Right, which is 2 great points there. One is, on our football tools that we have, and, all of that, we've integrated FanDuel and DraftKings scoring. Try to do some of that at the end of golf this year. We're going to reevaluate that. But we've done a lot of analysis, and probably everybody in the industry has, and we literally have 90 to 10. If we have 100 guys, 90 are playing DraftKings and 10 may be extremely high for FanDuel. So the extra time and effort we put in may not be worth it. But football, I don't know if it's 50-50 or not, but it's enough that we have everything provided for FanDuel. But understanding your goals at the beginning of the season, kind of like you just said, is huge on that weekly. And then understanding your bankroll for that perspective is massive to start your season. I think most guys just jump in and start entering contests, and it's like, well, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get to a live final? Are you trying to win a FFWC ticket? Are you trying to just increase your overall bankroll? Are you going to play showdown? Are you a guy that gets that trigger finger on Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night? And if you are, you got to manage that into your bankroll, or all of a sudden you're going to be in week 4. No different than betting. The betting for football is the worst for the majority of America because A, it's 10 times more than anything golf would do, but B, everybody blows their wads early, and by week 4 the books are rich and the guys don't have any money left because they didn't manage their bankroll. Fortunately for us, I changed mine a little bit, but I'm so much more profitable in football betting as far as percentage and ROI over my history. Obviously the big golf bets pay off, but my weekly take with football is so much better that I use is kind of my cash flow in with DFS. And this year I'm going to start over and do a little different strategy, but my bankroll it'll be less than what golf was overall. But to your point, Tambo, the weekly, like I may have weeks where I definitely played more than I did in golf, but there's only 17 weeks. So it's a little bit different, maybe 16 if you don't even want to play 17. But I think you got to analyze all of that. And hopefully in the next 9 to 10 days will help that is, are you going to play showdowns? Are you going to get that kind of stuff? We just don't want you waking up on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock and firing $100 in the milli and then get pissed because you lose every week because you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes players make. We kind of already talked about this. Is there anything you guys add for, we talked about contest selection and all that, but I know your answer, Bucks, pretty much, but Tambo, do you do anything? I know you're a big MME golf guy, but is there anything other than the live final structure you try to go after that's way different than golf? Like, do you focus on some 3 maxes or 5 maxes? Or you still pretty much, you like the big MME builds even in golf?
I'm still all MME for the most part, but I have incorporated, and back to your point of what did we bring from last year to this year, that's for me a major focus. It's part of practice and review. So I will do 3 to 5 mains. I don't want 333 lineup. Like, Buck's amazing job, took down the Wildcat last year. That's incredible. But I think that was sort of your day, was your plan, right? You were going to play X amount of those lineups, and that's your mains for the week, and that's all you play. And that's how you got there. I'm incorporating that this year, where I'll go in with 3 or 5 of those or not play it and allocate that money to something else. But if it's a week where I'm not really feeling it, I won't force it. And I might just do like one 555 single entry. So to your point, Gup, that you said with, making sure you have the right amount of lineups, it'd be more of one of the lineups where I'm looking to take a bigger buy-in, smaller field, and make my best lineup and hone in and pay that tuition, as you always say, and at least do it in a field where it's smaller and I feel like I actually have a chance to win if I play this, 17 weeks in a row or something like that.
And I have 2 questions. One will be for Buck, because I know you both have different strategy. Bucks, I know you're a 1 to 5 lineup kind of deal. One thing you honed on last year that really I think you should just talk about a little bit is, and it kind of wraps all this in, is you go into the season knowing you're praying for 3, maybe 4 winning weeks out of 16, 17 because of your strategy. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, and for any GPP player in general, like when you're 100, like if you don't play any cash, if you're 100% in GPPs, and this goes for, and Tambo knows this as well, like that's not something you go in playing and you're expecting to have break even weeks every week and then hit one big one. Like I know going into almost every single week that I will likely lose all of my bankroll. I am just hoping that I have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 solid weeks that make my nut. And last year was one of those years where I had, 13, I think, of the 17 weeks, 13 weeks, I lost money. And not every week I lost my entire bankroll, but then there were, obviously the Wildcat winter week was huge, but I had another week where I won like 18 grand, another week I won like 15 grand. And so those are the weeks that make the entire year possible. And I talked about it on PGA today, like in the Slack. I put in $165,000 in entry fees in PGA this season, from fall swing to tour championship, $165,000. And out of whatever it is, 40 weeks or something ridiculous. And I won $168,000. So $3,000 in profit for the entire year. And that was only possible because I had like 5 weeks that I had 5-figure wins. I had a $50,000 win. I had $28,000 win. And the majority of those 40-some weeks were losers. And so you just have to be mentally prepared to lose money. And it's true. You hear it all the time if you're in the gambling betting world, like scared money don't make money. If you're going into a week with the true concern that you're going to lose money and you're depending on that money, then you shouldn't be playing DFS. And it's just a mental, like a mindset you have to have. You can't go into a week deciding your players because they're safe or they're not safe or whatever. It's just, I think that's important.
Well, and to that point, which is I think where I know for a fact it's where we've gained our leverage in the industry and our respect in the community, is that we don't hide from that. We don't hide that we're not perfect every week. And we have, I lose 8 units of betting, 2 weeks ago, and I posted because I don't give a shit, because it's all about the process for the whole year. And if people are looking for the quick buck, that's not who we want. And so I don't really care if they come or not, because 2 weeks later we clean house this week. And that doesn't mean like we're great to go now. It just goes into the bankroll and you keep grinding. Same thing with DFS. I lost more weeks than I won this year. I hadn't done all my analysis yet because I had to catch up today, but I will be posting all that in the community, especially the betting one. I know I had a winning betting year again for the 4th straight year, and up over 3 units of figure, hundreds of units over the last 4 years in PGA and golf and NFL. So it's a long-term process. And when you have the accountability that people rely on, they don't mind the bad weeks as long as you walk through it and they understand the whole process. Yeah, you're going to get some guy that signs up and go, you went 2-8 this week or whatever it is. And, and you got to deal with that. But I think that's one thing that sets us apart. My question for you, Tambo, was being the big MME guy, in golf, you can sometimes get away with, like, you could play the Millie Maker or, the $5 or whatever, even the 333, and not have the leverage on the field. And what I mean by that is I may feel comfortable playing the $44, putting 40 lineups in because of my skill set and what I believe in, and not have to max it. But there's only 10,000 people in a normal 44 week. So the odds of combinations of lineups is a lot less than these football contests. Do you feel you have to max anything that you get into, or where's your leverage point? Just a quick, you don't have to get deep into it, but kind of talk about that for everybody listening.
Yeah, a couple things on that. One is I always feel comfortable with less. I'm still okay with it, because here's the thing with the Millie Maker, as use it as an example. What is it, like 270,000 people?
Yeah.
When you do 150 lineups in that, you're still like a 0.0007%. Like, you don't have any leverage on there's no leverage either way. It's what I always say to people: you either do or you don't. You have it or you don't have it. In golf, talking about leverage in football versus golf, for example, in these big MME tournaments, I think it's interesting for discussion. I mean, I would probably say no, but I could be dead wrong. And I'm talking about, do you need greater leverage in football? And the reason is because you got 9 spots. You've got a flex spot incorporated. You've got a field size that's wide open. What is there, 400 people in the quote unquote field, or that you can pick between, or more? And in golf, it's like, you can get leveraged in golf by just picking a random scrub, as we call it. I know they're not scrubs. I hate to kind of use that word, but you can pick a random guy at the bottom that's going to be 1% owned.
Yeah. He
could have a hole-in-one, but guess what? That's, he's +6 and not going to make the cut, and hits his hole-in-one when he's about to miss the cut. Means nothing. But if you got the guy at 3K, your receiver in NFL, comes up, he's a wide receiver 4, but an injury happens, he gets in the game. You knew he was going to get like 30%, 40% of the snaps. So you take a flyer on him in a stack, and he goes out and has, or even just use a wide receiver 3 to make it more common, and he goes out and has that home run play. Boom, you're set. You got 8 other spots, and then your chalk doesn't matter as much because you got that leverage with that guy that nobody else is on. So even last year, I think it was, or the year before, the week 1 Millie Maker, because the pricing comes out so early, was like all chalk, and then the dude's name that won it was chalk. So it happens where you can have a pretty chalky lineup and still get it done. It's not as common, but it can happen.
Well, and in football, the cool thing about having so many spots and player positions is you could do stupid stuff like 2 tight ends in your lineup, and you're completely differentiated already immediately.
Yeah. So to answer the question finally is, you don't. It's not the same. I know you do it in Golf Cup with the $44. You'll say, this week I'm feeling MME, and I think my 30 can get the job done. And we've seen it. I've seen it. You've even asked me, what do you think? I'm saying, yeah, man, definitely. This is the spot to do that. And this was a great question for this, because like you said, these big fields, the $9 slant, the $20 Millie Maker, you can chuck 30 to 50. What I will say as a final point, I think it's good for listeners, is that a lot of these fields, like the Millie Maker, are so top heavy that I'm not as much as a core guy and people say if you have that core and you hit around it, you'll get more there. I'm more of a shotgun approach, because like in a live final, for example, a $5 cue, I only one can count anyway, and I only need one to get there. It's either you do or you don't. If I'm playing for the Millie, you do or you don't. I'm playing more spreads. Now I'll still have, if I got 50 lineups, I might do 10 quarterbacks of 5 each with their stats.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I still have something. I'm just saying I'm not going to do 50 with the same and say I hope this is my week, because even playing that tight core, it's only 17 weeks. It's not crazy to say that approach will get there once this year. It may get there 0 times in 3 years. You have no idea. So just play your plays and play your guys.
Many, and to your point, Sambo, with kind of spreading it out, there's so many more unknowns in football with game flow. Like one play can change the entire flow of a game. Injuries. I mean, there's so many things. Weather. There's so many things that can go into NFL.
And you made me think of,
go ahead.
I was just saying, you made me think of one more key point that I want to bring up, because again, a lot of people follow the Chipotle Gates or Papa Gates and Chipotle addicts of the world. They actually won the Wildcat last year. They play every lineup different. They won the Wildcat that would have won the Millie Maker and did not win the Millie Maker, because if they do 3 tournaments, that's 450 lineups maxed out. They don't duplicate. So that just tells you how many combinations you want to play. Even the best players in the world, or the most winning players in the world, are spacing it out and willing to take that risk, because they still made money on the day when they hit that 250K. They just want to make sure they're spread out. It just didn't happen to be that lineup in the Millie Maker, but they still got there in a different big tournament. So it's good to spread yourself out in these tournaments.
And that's some of the stuff definitely we get into on the deep dive is that, yeah, it's a way different approach from, if you're new for me, and you know, because my approach to golf is a tighter court. It's not how I approach football for that reason, because, you know, there's too many, you know, so in golf, other than the cut sweat, which is the greatest sweat there is, barring some kind of withdrawal or injury, you know, your guy's at least going to get 36 holes. They're going to get to play all 36 holes or all 72 holes if they make the cut. Forget MDF and all that. So don't start talking. I know that. But in football, your guy may be on the field and not get a target or a catch, or, I mean, there's no guarantee. So there's so much more. We talk about golf being crazy with the variability, and it is, but it's a different kind. And so that's why it's so important to understand our process and listen as we go through this season, which I know everybody's excited about in the Slack, and it's going to be great, but it is a different game that you're playing thought process, which I think you guys have all hit on great points.
For PGA.
Contact sport as well, remember. So injury, your running back that you got 60% of could break his leg on the first play. Literally, unfortunately, not something we're wishing for, but it can happen, and it's sad when it does, but that's the issue, right? You don't have that in golf, right? That's rare.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when you look at how I build PGA lineups, I will have most weeks, I will have, let's just say 5 lineups. At least 4 of my lineups, I'll probably have one of the top guys in 4 of the 5 lineups, like a Rory. I'll be 100% on Rory or 80% on Rory. In football, I will almost never have like anything above like 50% on a stack or a top price guy. The only time I'll have like above 50% on somebody if it's like super sleeper value guy that's $3,500 and I can do whatever the hell I want elsewhere, and I still think he's going to pay value on an off day, and that kind of thing. And in golf, it's completely different. I would, rare occasion, go and hammer somebody that's $6,300. It's just never going to happen, and I think it's flip flopped kind of in NFL for me.
So I got 4 or 5 real quick 1-2 word type answers to kind of wrap it up. I think it's been a great pod. I hope everybody loves it. Obviously, we're excited to get going for football. Tons of pods and content coming out. Bobby and I are going to do a college football preview, DFS in-depth pod Thursday night. I'll get the times for you and all that posted later, but put that on your schedule. A couple other pods we got in the works, so stay tuned for that. Real quick, just kind of thinking of season long, not DFS, 1 week, 1 game. Give me one player each you think will outperform his current projections. He could be high up there, but just the guy you think could go off this year.
For me, I would say David Njoku. He was a guy I was on a lot last year, but I think the addition of OBJ this year kind of frees him up a little bit. He's not going to be the core focus in that offense. And I think he has a massive, massive year.
Baker loves the tight end as well. Tambo
looks frozen.
Yeah, it's the homer pick with Lamar Jackson. So
got that jersey on? You got that
jersey on? And my big thing with him is that even though he's popular, I get it. I just think people are discounting that arm. They think he can't throw. How's he going to get done? The guy had like 7 wins in a row for him without running. He's going to rush like crazy. I think he's going to do a lot more
everywhere.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens will be better than people think too. No, it's not a homer play. It's just overall, I think they'll be better than people think because of that.
Mine's Chubb. I think he's a talent. I played him several times last year, especially when he was still splitting. I think the way it's shaken up in the off season or here the last 4 or 5 weeks, it only improves his status because of kind of what Buck said on
another guy that gets freed up by OBJ.
Yeah. So I like Chubb a lot. Beyond him, in some of the drafts that coming up for me. One player that you think will underperform projections.
Either one, Le'Veon or Antonio. I think both are going to have down years, especially Antonio. I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening in that offense under a new quarterback. He was such a timing guy he's an elite route runner. There's no question of that, but where he made a lot of his plays were on broken plays where Ben scrambled, he made things happen. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. I would be shocked if he plays out to a wide receiver 1 type level.
He was mine as well. Bell was a close too, so that's kind of funny. But I think he'll realize how special Ben is in the overall picture of a football game. And I also think as Juju and those guys evolved, it helped him. And you know, I'm not saying it can't happen at the Raiders, but he's already kind of been of a head case in several different issues. Talent, you can't question, but I'm interested to see how the year plays out, and I'm down on him. Tambo, you got somebody different, or you?
I do, yeah. I went a little bolder, actually. I went with Saquon Barkley because I know he's high up the boards. And my thing –
So I agree. My only deal there is the quicker that Jones winds up starting, who that dude made me a shit ton of money in college football betting over the last 4 years. But if he winds up starting sooner than later, it helps Barkley, but it's a big risk. I don't know if they're going to
my thing was with what you just said about Chubb, though. You know, the OBJ was the creator there. Teams really couldn't scheme for him as much. Plus, his talent level's insane. It's off the charts. I get it. Yeah. I'm just saying, with no OBJ, no real wide receivers, they're really banged up in the wide receiver category. They should be down in games more by just looking at the schedule. Like you say, whatever Jones does, it's still as a rookie. So yes, he's going to be good. I agree with you. I think he'll make all these media outlets pay for that call being, oh, that's the worst pick ever. I don't agree there, but it's really hard to pass over him in like a draft. But just sometimes you see big names don't have great years, or they fade down the stretch, like we talked about Dustin Johnson earlier, right? This guy could come out hot, have a few good games, and then just not do anything. So it's worse in season long than it is in DFS, where we've got more control, in my opinion.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I think you can play him in matchups and DFS wise. Season long, I'd try to avoid him at all possibility. So most overrated team in general, maybe compared to season win totals or whatever. I'll start. I'm the Rams. I think I don't want to say they had. I just don't know if they can repeat what was last year. I think the talents are obviously biggest question is Gurley, and is he going to be the guy that led me to my Super Bowl last year and then didn't play week 16, or is he going to, go for, I mean, he's great talent. I just don't know if it's there. And overall, I think that's a tough division. NFC is obviously loaded. So at 11 wins, 10.5, depending on when you see it, I'm under on the Rams. What about you, Bucks?
I mean, I know it probably changes over the last week with the injury, but I was going to say the Panthers. A lot of people are on them, and if Cam is healthy, very well could have a good year, but I don't think they're as good as people are making him out to be. Like a lot of people are treating this team like the second coming. And Cam has been injured. There's going to be a lot of weight on McCaffrey's shoulders. I just don't see them kind of playing out into that contender.
Tambo?
Yeah, mine's the Steelers. I seen them at around 9.5. So again, back to your Antonio Brown call, I like it. I think it goes both ways, though. I think he also made some room for Juju. He's got the work ethic like no other. Connor's good. Samuels, Moncrief, all these guys, but they're not like the core that you want to go to town with. And then my other big point there was, we already talked about them, but the much improved Browns. You talk about Njoku, you talk about Baker, you talk about Chubb, OBJ. We've already mentioned all of them. They got to play them twice. And then to my point, no homer, Ravens. It's still tough games, man. It's always a rivalry there. So that's 4 out of the games, just 4 to 16 right there that they maybe get 1 or 2 of, in my opinion. And then they still have their other schedule ahead of them. And I just think they're stronger talked about than they are, or they're stronger on paper than they actually are, in my opinion. So 9.5 seems high.
I do think the Panthers have a chance, back to your point, if he's healthy, and that's a big if. I think McCaffrey's obviously a stud, but there's a lot of question marks there for me. I was kind of going that route. I've obviously made a couple of preseason bets on them, 3 or 4 weeks ago, but record-wise, I think the Bucks are a little undervalued in the win season totals. I like their potential. But my biggest upside team, because I think they can, and we'll see here in the next question I have, I really like the Seahawks. I like Russell Wilson. I've always been a fan of them. I think everybody's just kind of got them in an 8-8 type of season, and I think they can sneak a 10-6 and 11-5. And if you get that team to the playoffs, Wilson's a gamer in that kind of situation, and anything can happen. So we'll go. Give me your final 4, and then your Super Bowl matchup and your Super Bowl winner. Bucks.
Final four would be in Tambo. Steelers, Chargers, Bears, Vikings. Vikings taking it down. I like the Vikings as kind of my upside team this year.
This is why you're getting off the pod.
Exactly.
those picks are just off the map. Forget about the Chiefs and forget about the Saints and all these squads. Just get all these other random, the Chargers, the Bears, all the Bears are not a bad call, but some of them I'm just laughing at.
You don't think the Vikings have a shot?
I love
Steelers are a stretch, but I think all of the other ones are legit.
Yeah, I'm way more chalk as normal. You know, I play GPPs contrarian, but my picks like this, I'm going chalk. I got the Chiefs and the Pats facing off. I got the Eagles as sort of the sneakier kind of team. Not really, but a little bit with I'm with you on the Rams, Gup. So I got the Eagles and the Saints. I got the Chiefs playing the Saints. Like, you know, looks like the teams off little giants, like the squads that just came to play, that they're all special uniforms and shit. And I got the Chiefs winning it this year. I had them as my upside team, actually, even at 10.5. And the reason I have them as an upside team is because I think we could see 13 or 14 wins out of them with how good they are and only going to be better this year. So I really like the Chiefs, and I got them going all the way.
Yeah, they're on the early radar, especially if they wind up getting the Chargers a little banged up there. I think they're the first game of the year.
And Gordon News too, right?
I am super high on Cook as well, Bucks. If you give me Cook and Chubb in a fantasy league, I would take that all day. I think Cook's undervalued in the market personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the only thing that hesitates me on the Vikings is the quarterback. I don't know if I can trust them to make a run, but other than that, I love their team. They still have one of the best top 5 defenses in the league, so I can't argue with that. I have the Chargers and the Chiefs, and then I have the Saints and the Seahawks as my final four. Chargers, Saints, and I have Drew Brees retiring, winning the Super Bowl over the Chargers this year. Kind of a comeback story of the catastrophe call. Blah blah blah. Last year,
garbage call. I'm still.
So I kind of say, well, it's kind of the retirement game. I think the quarterback that wins retires. Rivers or Breeze in the Super Bowl. You know, Rivers is chasing that one. I don't want to jinx.
He can't retire, man. He's got
it could
12 kids to pay for.
It could be Brady and Breeze and have the same narrative if you want it. Like, let's say Brady got one more, he might just say, "I'll hang him up." Then
I think the Patriots struggle to make the playoffs. That's kind of one of my
Gronk has a big announcement tomorrow. You think it's that he's coming back or what? Or is he starting an energy drink or something? Who knows?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Patriots were my overrated team this year. I don't like them this year.
So really, you know, that about wraps it up. We've already went in depth on everything. You know,
I'm with you.
Gonna close out this pod a little bit differently. Tambo, any final thoughts? Obviously, I know you'll be in the Slack. You probably have a preseason article or two. We'll have plenty of content over the next 9 or 10 days, getting ready for the NFL.
My stuff will be geared towards week 1. Definitely, you kind of hit it there. I got nothing. We talked a lot already. I talk more than most, so is what it is. But always open to chat more. So if you're not already following me on Twitter at ToeTag and Tambo, if you want to get on board with us, I highly recommend it. DM me, find me in the Slack, #food. You know what it is. Let's go. Football, baby. We're here.
You know, my final thoughts, Coin Flip, obviously will be out Thursday night, 9:00, not this week. We're going to do our college football version of the Coin Flip. So should probably be around that time, but I'll have Bobby on and we're going to go in depth to what is becoming a niche industry. It's getting a little bit of steam. We'll see how the contest growth there in DK and FanDuel or anywhere else gets. Hopefully it picks up some steam this year. Kind of got announced late last year, so it didn't have a good start, but finished strong and looking forward to this year. I don't think they're doing a live final, but maybe, you know, and then, you know, before we announce the winners of the promos, if y'all are still hanging out there, obviously go sign up for the contest. You know, contest.gupscorner.com or go to gupscorner.com and click the contest link. It takes you straight to our subdomain. We have Survivor Pool. First one's already full. Second one, I don't know how many's left. JB can say them a year, but you know, probably still half left there. If we fill it up quick, we may start one. But if I wouldn't bank on it, this may be the only one we have. So I'd get in before it fills up. We have the Super 7, which is, you know, kind of 7 against the spread every week, similar to the Super Contest in Vegas. I don't know where we're at there as well as entries, but, you know, that's unlimited as far as the amount we'll take. But, you know, hopefully we can get, you know, beat last year's 3 max there in that one, right, JB? Yep. Yep, you can 3 max that one. The Survivor is a solo entry. You can't. There is no, putting 10 entries in or whatever and playing it's just, who can go Survivor style the whole year with one bullet. But you can play them both. So if you got in the first one, get in the second one if you want to. So looking forward to those. Obviously, the GCFFLs is as popular as probably the GC Cup. If you've been following our Twitter, you've seen all the people praising the GC Cup and how they like it. Season-long DFS style leagues. I know we are almost booked up on those as well. So I would get in there if you have not already. Very limited. So our Platinum League's the only one left. So I'd hurry up. I don't know how many we filled up, 8 or 9 or 10 or a ton, way more than last year. So that was awesome to see. And so don't come back next year or next week or 2 weeks and asking to get in like we have people do, because you've had plenty of opportunity. Our promo winners of the night that we kind of hyped up all night, and we'll give you at least 24 hours to get a hold of one of us, because I know some people may just listen to it on iTunes. We will have it time stamped. So if you want to go through it, hit the download, the like, the review, and then fast forward if you want. Survivor entry is Matthew Townsend. That was a Facebook entry. Super 7 number 1 is Mac Apple Chick. That's on Instagram entry. Super 7 number 2 is Z Feldman 26. That was an iTunes entry. And then our platinum winner of the GCFFL was SW323232, and that's on iTunes. So those 4, reach out to JB or I, or support@gupscorner.com, and we'll route you to the right place. You can DM us on Gups Corner on Twitter also, and we'll see that one as well. So any of those areas, if you're the winner, and JB will get you hooked up with your contest entry. I'm going to close out my final thoughts, and I'm going to turn it over to Bucks as he says goodbye to close the show for the last time. Obviously, for me, kind of did the difficult part last time. It's no easy way for me to say goodbye or how much I appreciate you and what you've meant to Gups Corner. I know you'll still be around supporting the brand, but it won't be the same without you. I know everybody in the Slack has said that, and they think you're going to disappear like tomorrow. And we told them you're not, but I don't know if they'll believe it till they see it. You've left a great mark on the company. I thank you. We all thank you. My wife thanks you. I know you've talked to her in private as well. The best thing to me in reflecting last night, trying to write this up, was that, the brand is thriving as hot as it's ever been. And so that's a great testament to yourself. And then to leave us on a high note as always well. You always want to leave something better than when you got there. When we change careers, we all do that. Anything you do in life, I tell people that. Leave it better than you got there. Even when we get, to a dinner table, I tell my kids that, right? Leave it better than when you got there. If you keep that through life, you'll be all right. I'm going to miss having you as a part of the team. Obviously wish you best of luck in future endeavors. I know I'll be staying in plenty of touch with you and bugging you about, contests and lineups and questions all the time. I know you'll come on plenty in the fall, and hopefully we get together at the Honda or the Masters or something next year. And hey, he's part of the team still, brand ambassador. If you need to reach out to him, you can get him on his private DM moving forward. And if he has time or when he does, that's good. If not, Bucks, I'll let you take it away with your final thoughts to the community. Everybody else, I'll see you Thursday night for college football. I love you, brother, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I think thank you, by the way. It's hard to put into words kind of what Gups Corners meant over the last couple of years, not only for myself, but I'm sure many members of the community feel the same way. I just happen to be part of it in the beginning. But it's something that I've mentioned before. It's something that I believe in, and something that I'm sure many people believe in. But you don't know everybody that's listening to this pod, everybody you interact with on a daily basis, everybody that you know in your life. Every single person is going through something in their life that is less than ideal, whether it's a work issue, a family issue, whether it's just a personal issue, whether they're having mental health issues. I mean, there's a million different things that people can be dealing with, and you just don't know. And I think it's really important to be kind to people and give people the benefit of the doubt and be, I mean, we talk about it when we're kids, right? Treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I think that the really cool thing about Gups Corner, the community, and Twitter in general, to be honest with you, yes, there are quite a few trolls on Twitter, and that's just the environment that Twitter is, and that's fine. It makes, honestly, it's entertaining. It's fun. But I can easily say that the Gups Corner community, Gup, you, JB, Tambo, Melinda, even Nate and Ruby, that whole community has helped me get through a lot of shit over the last couple of years, whether you know it or not, because Gups Corner has been a fantastic way to go through life and life's issues and have something that you look forward to on a daily basis. And it's been really great. And what's cool is going on golf trips and meeting people in person and traveling to different cities and having somebody reach out to you and say, hey, dude, I'm from Detroit. Let's get together. So I know you're going to be in town on business, and saying, sure. And then hanging out with somebody and talking to the wife, and the wife says, oh, who's that you're hanging out with? And, oh, it's some guy I met on Twitter. Like, it sounds super creepy, but it's just the way that the world works these days. And for the most part, our community is special, man. We have a lot of really, really good people that truly care about the well-being of everybody else. And when you have, we have 1,000 people in the Slack. When you have 1,000 people genuinely rooting for each other, when every single one of them is a competitor, it's a really cool environment. And so for me, the last few years, I mean, life in general is difficult. The last few years have been trying at different moments. And I can't say thank you enough to the entire team for the opportunity they've given me. I will not be going away completely. This is just something that, and I've said this on previous pods and in the Slack, that the Gups Corner community deserves an elite product. Elite content, elite podcasts, elite people to be there in the Slack and that kind of thing. They deserve the time and commitment that Gup's been giving, Tamba's been giving, JB's been giving, that I've given. And realistically, over the next 6 months or longer, I am not going to be able to give the time, energy, focus to providing elite content, elite advice. If I were to put out anything in the next couple weeks regarding full season stuff, it would be mediocre at best. And that's not what Gups Corner deserves. That's not what I would want to put out anyways. That's not who I am. And so it was a good time for me to be honest with myself and be honest with the guys and just step away. And so with that being said, I am still going to be a brand ambassador. There are going to be weeks where I'm freed up to actually dig in and provide some elite content and stuff. And I'm excited to be able to do that periodically throughout the year. And I'll still be in Slack, that kind of thing. But last thing is just a big thank you. I appreciate each and every one of the team members. I appreciate the Gups Corner community. We really do live by our motto, which is family, friends, and green screens. They're all very important, but in that direct order. And so right now, my family, my friends are taking precedent over money and DraftKings and that kind of thing. And that's the way it should be. So thank you.
SmashFactor.